Multiple sclerosis is an autoimmune inflammatory disease that primarily affects young adults. It has an extremely variable and unpredictable course. We are very fortunate that we have a number of medications that have been proved by vigorous scientific investigation to have a significant impact on the course of multiple sclerosis in many people. However, we're left with many questions about MS. What causes the disease? What triggers the inflammation? Why do some people go on to have a progressive course of deterioration and others don't? As someone who has spent most of his adult life in the research and care of people with multiple sclerosis, I've shared in the heartbreak and challenges that persons with MS face. But I'm greatly encouraged by the diversity and potential of new treatments that are on the horizon. Still, I know that people with MS want answers now. I can tell you that good things are happening in the world of MS. The first drug to improve walking in multiple sclerosis was approved in the United States and marketed just a month ago. The first oral therapy that modifies the disease MS will be reviewed by a FDA advisory panel on June the 10th. And we're making strides in beginning to be able to start to find ways to repair the nervous system. And with the newer medications that are in advanced stages of testing, we've seen extremely encouraging results, with some drugs appearing to reduce the rate of relapses to perhaps as little as one attack in 20 years. When a new discovery is made that impacts the MS community, it sparks many questions, and it should stimulate rigorous discussion and debate. Right now, people around the world with MS are engaged in these discussions about what CCSVI might mean for them. Investigators and scientists in the MS research community need to engage in those same rigorous discussions as they plan the proper ways to conduct scientific investigation of this new lead. I'm pleased to be here today to explore with my colleagues an interesting avenue of potential research in multiple sclerosis that has prompted a lot of interest over the last few months: chronic cerebrospinal venous insufficiency, or CCSVI. We're going to hear directly in a few moments from Professor Zamboni and Dr. Zavadinov about their work in this area. And my job here is to set the stage for the next couple of hours. Recent preliminary studies reported by Professor Zamboni have suggested an association between CCSVI and multiple sclerosis. CCSVI is an abnormality in the blood drainage from the brain and the spinal cord. Based on Dr. Zamboni's initial work, larger studies have already been initiated to investigate this further. Dr. Zavadinov will discuss some of his work on that subject in a little while. In addition, Dr. Zamboni's pilot work is leading to large-scale studies to investigate whether correcting CCSVI through endovascular surgery, which involves inserting balloons or, in some cases, stents into blocked veins in order to improve the blood flow out of the brain and spinal cord, has any effect on the MS disease process. But in order for the MS world to understand the long-term benefits and the risks of procedures related to CCSVI, it's very important to balance the need for due speed with the important understanding that we must apply rigorous scientific investigation, which can only come about through the conduct of properly controlled trials to understand this phenomenon. We want to make sure that we provide the best information for all people with MS so that they can make informed decisions about their future. Because of the many years that I've worked with the National MS Society, I know that they share the public's sense of urgency in advancing any lead that may help us to understand the cause, provide the cure, or improve the course of multiple sclerosis. Accordingly, the National MS Society and the Canadian MS Society have responded dramatically to this new lead. In December, they sought applications through requests for proposals for new research to study this phenomenon. By February, a number of research proposals had come forth from 7 different countries throughout the world. In May, an international panel consisting of both neurologists and vascular experts will conduct an expedited review of all applications received through this process. In June, the funding decisions will be announced, and in July, it is expected that the work will begin. As you will hear, the early findings about CCSVI are surprising and intriguing, but a number of questions remain about how, when, and indeed whether CCSVI has any role in the nervous system damage seen in multiple sclerosis. Only through scientific, rigorously controlled investigations will we be able to answer those questions. Some of the questions raised in the preliminary CCSVI research that we need to address, and some of which will be discussed today, include the question of whether or not other investigators in larger scale trials can confirm the initial results reported by Professor Zamboni and his colleagues. And if CCSVI does occur in MS, how common is the problem actually? It's interesting to note already that the results that Dr. Zavadinov has reported are very substantially different quantitatively from the results that Professor Zamboni reported. If indeed CCSVI does occur in patients with multiple sclerosis, what does it have to do with the course or the severity of the disease? And how would we go about determining whether people who have CCSVI and multiple sclerosis might benefit from surgical approaches to relieve that problem? And if they do achieve any benefit, are those benefits temporary or long-standing? Why have the